let me tell you, one of the mistakes that my teenagers make is they think that they are too busy to plan out how they're going to do their homework and their studying that they need to do in a given night. So what they'll do is instead of taking like 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, but it shouldn't take you that long. But instead of taking those 5 or 10 minutes or so to plan out their plan of attack, they're like, nope, I'm far too busy. I don't have the time to do that. So I'm just going to dive right in. And listen, I have been there. I've been guilty of this too. And I'm telling you, every time I do it, what happens is I end up spending so much more time studying, doing homework, doing whatever it is. I end up feeling stressed out. I end up in the process of doing it. I'm like worrying. I'm thinking about all the other things I still need to do. And I'm not even super clear on all that I need to do. I just know I have so much that I need to still do. And this is what happens to my kids. And they end up feeling stressed out. They get more burned out more easily, overwhelmed. And I love to take a holistic approach to whatever is driving the overwhelm and the stress. But one of the tools that I like to use that is so simple and helps right away is this. So I'm going to walk you through it. So the first thing is to, I would say, make the decision that you are going to take on a new identity of a person who is not going to let their mind trick them and be sneaky and be like, I don't have the time to do this and plan this out. Make the decision that you're going to be disciplined and you're going to spend the time to plan out your homework and study time before you start. Just make that decision. I guarantee you it's going to save you a half hour, possibly more, maybe an hour. And like I said, you're going to just feel so much more at ease, so much more calm, so much more on track, so much more relaxed as you're doing your homework. And that might be like hours of time you're going to be spending in a day or at night. And it's so, so, so much nicer to our bodies when we are doing whatever it is we need to do in this like calm, focused, relaxed, organized state. All right. So that's number one. Number two, so create a list of all of the things that you want to do. So like all of the homework things, all of whatever you need to study. And of course, you can literally apply this to anything. Like as an adult, I use this too. And every time I do it, I am so happy I did it and I get things done so much more quickly and easily. And every time I forget, I kind of suffer a bit more. So adults, you can use this as well, but we're talking about specifically for our teenagers and our student athletes, also in college as well. All right, great. So you write down everything, write down all the things. And in the process of doing that, because I know some of my kids, they'll write their to-do list like on their hands, or they might have like a plan book from school, and then maybe they use a separate calendar or to-do list as well. So it's helpful to get it all into one place. It's like, okay, these are the must-dos today or tonight or in whatever time frame. And you might find in doing that, purely in doing that, you might be like, oh, this and this, they're would like to do, they're not an absolute must do. So it helps you to kind of organize what the priorities are through seeing them all in one place. All right, so the next step is write down the amount of time. Don't skip this. Don't let your mind trick you and skip this step. Write down the amount of time approximately that you think it's going to take you to do each task. Okay. So, like, if you don't know, make an educated guess. Okay. So, you do that, you write the time next to each action or task. Then you're going to number each of those tasks or actions or things you need to do for homework or studying. So, this is when you're going to prioritize your order of attack of these things. Now, why is this helpful? Well, a few things. One, anytime you remove uncertainty, it's just going to help you be more efficient. You have to spend less time like making decisions or thinking, and it's more clear just like what the flow of action is going to be. Also, I find that at certain times of the day, and I know that our teenagers don't necessarily have this luxury because usually they're spending like 8 hours during the core of their day, waking up early, going to school, and then school is over and they have sports and homework and all that. But you might want to think about like, when does my mind do better with certain types of tasks? Like, for example, you might know that by the end of the night, if you need to study for math, for example, your brain just, it's really a challenge to study math, or maybe it's Spanish or whatever it is for you. A certain subject is really challenging for you to do or study, or maybe it's harder for you to get your brain to work to like write a paper late at night. So you're like, okay, most of the time, whenever I can do this, I will put a task like that earlier in the day or earlier in the night. I'll start that sooner because I know if I try and do that later in the day or at night, I'm not going to have like the brain energy or that focus to be able to do that type of like higher intensity productive work. So you want to think creatively and strategically in that way. And some of my teenagers, they really like to, for example, do the shortest things, like the actions that are going to take the least amount of time. They like to do them first and get them out of the way, and they go to the things that are going to take a longer amount of time. You might like to do that too. In other situations or with other kids or other individuals, they might prefer to get like this more like this bigger, more time intensive, more energy intensive task or project done first, and then they'll finish the other things later on. So just think about what you know about yourself so far and what will be most supportive for you in terms of the order of the actions you're going to take. Okay, next action is put that phone on airplane mode. So airplane mode it, put it on do not disturb, check that no alarms are going to go off. I don't know if you're like me and I set a lot of alarms to remind myself to do things. Turn them all off. We want you to be undistracted and like fully focused, hyper focused to get into flow state doing each of these actions. Maybe you're going to need to tell your parents or your family or your siblings, like, hey, I'm going in to do deep focus work. Unless there's like a major problem, please do not disturb. All right. And then finally, set an alarm. So a big roadblock for a bunch of my teenagers, or I would say like a mistake that they make, is they sit down and they do homework and studying for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours without taking a break. And I get it. I'm sure I used to do this too. And I went to a really intense college preparatory school, and sometimes I was up until like 1 or 2 a.m. just getting it done. It was intense. And I would do like 2 sports after school, sometimes high school sport, and then I would go to my club sport, and then I would have to come home and do homework. And I lived 45 minutes from school, and my soccer practice was like an hour away. Like it was a lot. And our brains literally do not work as well if we do not take breaks, even short little breaks. So I will probably create like a separate video on this, but what I'm going to invite you to do is do not work for more than 90 minutes at a time without taking at least like a 5, 10, 15-minute break. Okay, so set a timer for, let's say, like 80 minutes. And then if you're still really in flow state and you want to keep doing a little bit more for 10 more minutes, snooze that alarm. And then when it goes off, be disciplined. You have to make the decision that I'm going to be a disciplined person. And if I work beyond the 90-minute mark, even though you might not feel it on the day when you do it, I guarantee you, this has been my experience and so many of the teens that I work with, if you work beyond the 90-minute mark and you keep doing it consistently, day after day, week after week, you're probably going to find, just try it out. I'm not telling you what's going to happen. Try it out in your life, but you're probably going to find your brain stops working as clearly. you start feeling more foggy, you notice like you're not able to be as efficient. Like you might be like, oh, wow, an hour just went by, but what did I actually do in that hour? And that's literally because your brain needs time, your body needs time to just like reset and relax and just rest so that after that little break, you can come back and just dive back into flow state. Because here's the thing, what I've learned is that flow state is very, very energy intensive. It's very demanding to be in this hyper focused, detailed, efficient, powerful flow state where you can get really great work done efficiently in a short amount of time. But if you try and stay in flow state for too long without taking breaks, so more than 90 minutes at a time, I think you're going to find that it's actually sabotaging your ability to be efficient and to get like quality work done in the minimum amount of time. And so one of my kids, she said to me after I taught this to her, after having not done this for a very long time, she goes, oh, this is probably why I was so tired, like that I was just not taking breaks. I was just forcing myself to do like 3, 4+ hours at a time just until I got it done. She had this story that like if she took breaks, it would be really hard for her to just refocus after the break, which was just not true. And she was able to focus so much better after taking a break. And so I hope this serves you. Let me know if you try it and how it benefits your life.